Andrea Giles, and you're listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, episode number 105, Dealing with Conflict. Hello, and welcome to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, where courageous women learn not only to heal from their spouse's betrayal, but to become the boldest, truest, most decisive, and confident versions of themselves ever. If you know there's more for you than the life you're currently living, but don't quite know how to get there, you are in the right place. Stick around to learn how to create a life that will knock your own socks off. Is it possible? It is, and I'm here to show you how. I'm your host, Andrea Giles. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hey, everybody. I hope that this podcast finds you well today. It is towards the beginning of December, and I am rolling out some podcasts a little bit early to free up some time later in the month for Christmas. So I hope that when you hear this podcast, it will be useful to you. Something that comes up a lot in my coaching is conflict. I hear people all the time say, I just don't like conflict, or their spouses say, I don't like conflict. I don't want to fight. I don't want to have conflict. I don't like the tension. And so they stop talking. They stop going into discussions, talking about things because they're either very conflict adverse because they feel really uncomfortable, or because they have some thoughts about conflict, like that it's bad to have conflict, that it's bad somehow. And so today I want to talk to you a little bit about this. Before I do, I want to share with you a few things for this next year. I have people reach out to me wanting to know how to work with me. The way to work with me is I will be rolling out a version of my No in 90 program in January, where you can join whenever you want. Instead of waiting for the quarterly program start, I'm going to have it changed so that you can join when you are ready for it. And I decided to do that after having many people reach out to me after the program has started saying, I need help right now. And I know that we don't get to control the timing of when certain things happen in our lives. And I want to make it available all year long for my clients whenever they need it. So I'm going to be making some changes inside the program to make sure that everybody's well taken care of. But if you're interested in that, you can just head over to my webpage, andreagiles.com, and you can get on the wait list there. So another thing I want to just briefly mention is that I am working on editing my webpage. When I first started coaching, I mainly was working with people who are members of the Latter-day Saint community, mainly because I understand them very well. I know kind of their thought processes, things like that. And I have branched out way beyond that. And now the minority of people that I coach are members of that faith, and the majority are either no faith or lots of different faiths. And so I'm only saying that because if you have been a listener to this podcast and are not a member of the LDS faith and go to my website and see some of those things in there, it might discourage you from reaching out to me. And I want you to know that I love all the people. I love working with all the people. I have worked with people who are in polygamous type situations, in open marriage type situations, gay or, variations, LGBTQ situations, like all different kinds of things where there is betrayal. And so I don't want you to rule yourself out because of things that you see on my webpage or things like that. Like I love working with all kinds of people, all kinds of situations, all kinds of faiths. Okay, got that out of the way. Now let's talk about conflict, okay? So I was coaching a client recently, and I was trying to demonstrate to her the power of conflict and what it actually is and what we make it mean and why we kind of are afraid of it. So today I would like to give you a little analogy. Okay. How many of you have ever cleaned out your pantry or wherever you store food, or a big closet? Okay. For today's purposes, I'm going to talk about a pantry, but it can be anything, a garage, anything. So you decide, I can't stand it anymore. It's so messy. It's time to do something about it. And you go and you start pulling stuff out. Okay. So you go to the pantry and one by one, you start taking things out. You see the jars in there. You start putting them on the counter. All the different spices, all the different containers of various things, open containers, closed containers. You pull them out. You put them on your counters. Little by little, you start to see every surface in your kitchen covered. And you go, I can't believe I had so much stuff. And I don't even know what to do with it, right? There's just so much stuff. And sometimes what we do is we kind of just want to shove it all back in and close the door and go, never mind, it's fine. It's not a big deal. Or I'll deal with it later when the time is right. Or I'll ask somebody else to do it. Or I am just going to pretend like it's not on my counters, even though you now can't cook, you can't chop vegetables and prep for dinner because your counters are covered, right? So we kind of avoid looking at it. And sometimes we just get so discouraged and go, I just can't stand it. I hate it. My house is terrible. I need to burn my house down, or instantly I need to move to another home. Okay. Conflict is like that pantry where there are things that are not working for us. There are things that feel off for some reason. And so we go and we decide to bring it out into the open, and it's work. It feels a little uncomfortable. Okay. It feels kind of yucky sometimes. Like, man, look at that. I had no idea that was all there even. And we bring it out, and I want you to think while I'm talking about this, about different personality types. Okay. I want you to think about your personality type. And then I want you to think about the people that you are closest to, your spouse, your children, whatever. Okay. Some people would be in a hurry to just throw it back in, or very resistant to even bringing the stuff out of the pantry and onto the counter. They just don't even want to see the mess. Like, I don't want to know that it's there. I want to see the outside of the pantry with the door shut, with the pretty calendar hanging on it, and remind me that it's fine. There's no problem here, right? I don't want to see it. Or are you, or the people you love, the type that will open the cupboard and get everything out, but then hurry and never mind, throw it back in, never mind, I don't want to deal with this right now, okay? How many of you do that in your relationships where you're willing to a point and you're like, okay, I think it's time to talk about this. And then it starts to look messy and sticky and overwhelming. And you're like, never mind, throw it back, never mind. Either we'll deal with this later or just forget about it. Okay. How many of you relate to that? Or how many of you relate to that there's this mess there, and then I'm so overwhelmed and my whole house is just terrible and we should just burn it down? This looks like, instead of really looking at the actual problem at hand, which is that all the contents of your pantry are on your counter and all over your kitchen, you're scanning out, not in a healthy way, and seeing all the problems of all the things in your life, in your home, in your relationships. And suddenly it's all just terrible, and it all should just be burned down, right? It's all just so bad. And we become kind of extreme. We can't see the good things. We can't see the parts of the kitchen that are working really well. Our stove is awesome. We have a great dishwasher. We have a sink with running water that gets hot on demand. We have an oven that can beautifully bake things, right? There's all these other things that are wonderful, but because we have all this stuff on our counter, it's all just bad. All of it's bad. None of it's working. I hate it. I hate my kitchen. Okay. How many of you relate to that? Some of us see that conflict there and let it sit. And we let it sit for a very long time because it's all out there and we're mad that it's there. And because we're mad that it's there, we're like, I don't want to deal with it. I'm just going to ignore it. So it's not even putting it all back in. It's more like, I'm just going to let it be there and I'm just going to be mad at it for being there, right? So we see that it's there, but we're going to be mad at it that it's there, okay? How many of you do that in your own life? You recognize some of the problems, but then you're mad that they're problems. And so rather than actually getting to work problem solving on them, you're just going to be mad at them for being there and avoid actually doing anything about it. Okay. And then there's this option to little by little chip away at every single item and look at it and decide if it's a keeper, if it's not a keeper, if it needs to be relocated to a different place, if it needs to be saved for later, if it just needs to be put in a different place in the pantry, if you need a new container to put it in, right? This would look like in a relationship, not necessarily saying all of it is wrong, all of it needs to be dumped, right? It's more like we're going to look at this, we're going to really like pull this apart and look at these issues, and we're going to decide what's working, what's not working, and we're going to work together to find a solution. Okay, this is what conflict resolution is. Okay, conflict itself is not a problem. People shy away from it because it's uncomfortable, because we know that somebody else might not like it and that it might create an issue. Having an issue is not a problem. Okay, it's what we do with it that creates all the drama for us. It's how we respond to all the things being taken out of our pantry. Okay. Now, sometimes what we try to do when we're in conflict is we try to take out everything that's in the whole house, not just the kitchen, but every part of the house. Like, this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and it's your fault, right? And you can see why that would be hard for anybody to deal with, why anybody would struggle with that and be overwhelmed by that, right? And that it's often our approach. It's often how we come into conflict and how we try to address things. It's like if we blame somebody because our pantry is dirty, they're not going to be as receptive, right? If we're just starting a conversation with blame or with attack. So what's the solution here? Okay, the solution to resolving conflict is staying in it. Okay, stay in it while you problem solve. Like, stay with the stuff on the counter. You can walk away from it for a minute and go, okay, I'm feeling really overwhelmed by this mess. So I'm going to step away for a minute, but I'm going to set a time when I'm going to come back and I'm going to address it and finish this project. It's the same with our relationships. We can give ourselves time out. We can say, I'm feeling overwhelmed with this. I want to come back. Okay. I want to come back to this, but I'm going to give myself a minute. You're allowed to do that. Okay. With conflict, it can be, sticking with the problem at hand, like really looking at, this is the issue, and these are my feelings on it. This is what I want to keep. This is what I want to get rid of. This is why. And are you on board with this? Why or why not? And it's in that wrestle right there that you really learn how to use your voice in a way that is self-promoting in a positive way, advocating for yourself. And it's also in growing your capacity to sit in that space where you can learn to grow your ability to listen to others, okay? To listen to them, to really hear what it is they see, what it is they want. One thing that I believe is that we want more of the same things than we think we do. A lot of the times, it's not that we have such opposing things that we want. It's more that we don't know how to get it, or we don't think that what we want is possible. And so we kind of settle for the lesser thing. And with conflict, sometimes it needs to get a little dusty, a little messy on the counters, a little chaotic, to actually see what it is that you're dealing with. People have to kind of let down their guard enough to really say what they think, to really say it, to get it out. And part of the art of conflict is being able to sit with your own discomfort with what is being said to you, to not react to it, to just hear it, process it, think about it. Okay. You can respond. But when we automatically react, we are not making room for anything productive to come through from this conflict. Okay. All right. One more thing here. As you are navigating conflict, I want you to think about rules of engagement. Okay. If you're cleaning out the pantry, you're not going to let your kids come in and take the glass jars off the counter and throw them on the ground. Okay. You're not going to let your kid take the flour canister and dump it all over the kitchen. There is engaging in conflict that is above the belt, and there's engaging in conflict that is below the belt. And I want you to think about when you have engaged in conflict in both of those manners. I think we all probably have engaged in both, if we're being honest, that we have really liked the way that we've shown up to certain situations. And then there's some where we're like, you know what? I kind of played dirty on that one. I don't really want to play that way. Okay. Make some ground rules. If you are in a situation where you are still married and you are trying to navigate hard things, learning to engage in conflict productively is massive. So I suggest talking to each other and talking about what does it mean to you to play below the belt, like to punch below the belt? Like, what are the things that I do that shut you down, that say to you, this has gone beyond wanting to like work through this and into I'm going to hit you where it hurts and try to hurt you. Like finding out what those things are for each other can be really helpful. Now, if what your partner is saying to you is like never to say anything that's mean, well, find out what they mean by being mean, because sometimes some people will think that just having a conversation that's a little tense means that there's meanness, which is not necessarily true. Okay. So push on that a little bit. What is mean? What exactly? And you can use your own wisdom here to determine if that behavior is actually mean or if it's just uncomfortable. Okay. Sometimes truth is uncomfortable, right? So I want you to practice shifting your thoughts, changing your mind around conflict. It's not a bad thing. Okay. It's the tension that can happen in a wrestle to get to a place of truth, to get to a place of understanding, to get to a place of a deeper love for each other, deeper understanding, appreciation, knowing. Okay. And even if you are in a situation where you know that you're not staying with your spouse, knowing how to navigate conflict is huge, because you will still likely have to have conversations from time to time. Okay. You may have to navigate children, things like that. And in the future, you may be in a relationship again, right? And in every single relationship, in every good relationship, in every healthy relationship, we want some conflict. We want some things that are going to push us to speak our truth, that push us to listen. Okay, this is good. This is good. It always makes me cringe when I hear people say that they have a great relationship because they never argue, they never have tension, they never have conflict. I'm like, oh, gag. No, that is not the goal. That's not the goal. To me, what that says is that they've lived in a system where one person kind of goes along with the other to keep the peace, and that one person is, one or both of them are really hiding parts of themselves or muting parts of themselves because they don't want to deal with the wrath of the other person. So let's stop having wrath and let's start stepping into powerful, constructive conversations. If you are dealing with somebody who doesn't know how to not have wrath, okay, that's another issue. Okay, if you're dealing with somebody who has anger issues that you might get hurt, that's another issue. But even if you're dealing with somebody who sometimes just tries to shut things down, I challenge you to continue to push for more. Because if you're trying to stay with this person, avoiding conflict is not sustainable. Avoiding really speaking up is not sustainable. It's not going to work. Okay. So I challenge you to really identify which person you are, which person they are in regards to taking things out of that pantry. Are you the one that shoves it all back in, that never gets it out, that wants to like burn the whole house down? And to wrap this up, I want to make one more quick point. Okay. It is a thing where sometimes we take the stuff out of the pantry and we look at it and we carefully examine the space and we carefully examine what we have, what we want to have, and if the space works. Sometimes it means that we need to build a new pantry. It means that we need to get rid of the one that we have or make some huge adjustments to it and put some new shelving in and make it more workable, okay? That it just needs an upgrade. Sometimes it's a situation where it's time to move to a new home, okay? Sometimes it's time to move to a new home. Sometimes there just won't be the space for you to have all the things that you want. Whether the other person is not willing or isn't willing to accommodate some of the things that are your heart's desires, whether they are just not ready or unable or whatever it is, okay? But I invite you to step into this space and not mute the things that you want because you're trying to avoid conflict. What you want matters, and actually you owning the things you want is what is going to drive things forward. Either you're going to learn that the person you're with is willing to do some work to find some solutions, or they're not, but you're going to have that information. Okay. All right. I hope you find this helpful today, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast. If you would like to be kept in the know about upcoming free classes, new podcast episodes, and other ways of working with me, go subscribe to my weekly email. You can subscribe at andreagiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. Again, it's andreagiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. I will see you next time.